Well, thanks everybody for joining today. Today, the topic is our spring feature roundup. Dean's going to be going through some of the latest Mazévo features, new features that we've put into the system over the last few months, and giving you a look at what those are and what they do and how to use them and everything like that. So should be really, really good. Just so everybody knows, if this is your first time doing a Mazévo Connect, we do these about every month, and we love to bring everybody together. And it's always on various topics. This one's on just new features, but we've had them in the past on making requests, on operations, all kinds of things. So stay tuned for that. I always send out an email or a notice in the Mazevo app to let you know when these are coming up. We'll be doing another one here in June. And we've got everybody on mute right now, but please do, if you have any questions as we're going through, put them in the chat. We're watching the chat here during the presentation, so we'll address the questions that way. And we're going to save a few minutes at the end as well for Q&A, so you can get your questions in then. One thing we'd really like to do today is we love your feedback on this stuff. So as we're going through, if you see a feature that you're like, oh my gosh, this is cool, or whatever, put it in the chat and let us know that you like it. Or if you have a idea on how we could do it better or something like that, put that in the chat too. Nothing's off limits there, but we love the feedback here, and this is a great way to let us know what you like and all of that. So we'll be looking at that as well. So anyways, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'll introduce Dean Evans, our CEO here. He's going to be the one leading the presentation and going through these features. And Dean, I'm going to stop sharing and let you take it away here.
All right, here we go. All right, let me share my screen. We've got a long list of stuff to go through. So what I'm going to do, I've logged in here obviously as an administrator, so I can poke around on anything. So we're going to start with find events. We've tuned this thing up quite a bit. One of the things we just recently have done is we've removed the paging. So when I came in here and said, give me a whole month's worth of stuff, we used to have this page size that you had down here. And, it just seems like in this day and age, you shouldn't have to worry about that. So we got rid of that, and you can scroll up and down here until your heart's content. And here I've got 202 bookings for the month. Just a couple little tips and tricks here. You can scroll forward and it'll go to the next month and to the previous month. Okay, so whether you picked whatever your date range is there, 7 days, month, year, whatever you pick there, it'll scroll forward by that amount. Okay. One thing we see a lot of people do, a lot of people love specific dates. Okay, so if I come in here and say 05/15, right, to the 26th, and I hit search, we just recently added this, that scrolling works here as well. So it will scroll forward by the number of days in that date range, and you can continue to scroll forward. You don't have to go back and re-specify a date range. So, and now that I'm here, one of the other features we put in here recently is show this list of bookings as events. So if you've got, let's see if we can look at one right here. So this one right down here, the Small Business CEO Council. If I collapse that, there's 2 bookings on that event. There may be more, but if I collapse it, it then drops that down, and you're seeing 1 row per event with the start and end date. So here's women's ministry from 6/9 to 6/16. And again, if you open that, it'll open up in the event editor as well. So a couple little creature comforts there. One other thing we recently did is let you edit. So if you have views out here, you can come in here and you can now edit these views. So again, a view, for those of you that have never created a view, if you're over here on standard or advanced and you get your data the way you want it, okay, you can save that. And then the next time you want to run it, you can come in here and just click on it, and it'll prompt you for whatever date range you've selected. Once you in the old days before we put this feature in, you couldn't edit that, and now all you have to do is come over here and say edit, and it'll let you change anything you want, including the date, and then you save the changes, and that's how you make your edits to those. So collapse to standard. Okay, so that is pretty much it on find events. So what I want to do is open up an event here. We're going to go into the event editor. So I've opened up this one event right here. We've made quite a few changes. I think you've seen some of these in how you add resources to a booking. Okay. So if I come in here and I say I want to add resources to this booking, you can select that and say add resources. And let's say I want to go to catering, because that's where most people do this ordering. So if I wanted a assorted vegetable crudité, and maybe I want, let's say, some coffee and some water. You notice while I'm picking these, it's got this new little kind of shopping cart over here. What may not be apparent is you can come over here and drag these around and put them in the order that you want them to appear. And this changes the order pretty much everywhere. It's on the confirmation, it's on the daily operations report, it's in manage operations. It's pretty much everywhere. So you can set the sort order there. So then it comes in here, here's your bottled water. Now, if you need to make changes to that, the way you change the sort order, come back over here to bookings, you can only change it from this screen here. When you drill into a booking, you have a big button here, change sort order, and you can change them again right here. Now you can only do this one service provider at a time. Okay. So if I had AV on here, I'd have to sort those differently than I would sort catering. So there's a couple little nuances there on that. One thing that was asked for a lot was the ability to change these windows. So when you use these tools here, okay, you have the ability, let's say I want to change the time. It's not completely obvious, but you can now move these around, okay? So any of these wizards, whatever it may be, change event name, all of these you can move. So if it's in the way and you're looking for something behind it, you can certainly move that around, okay? Another big change that we made is in the copy utility. So if I select a single booking and say copy, it now, for a single booking, you can now do some more stuff. So I'll put this on 5/29, 29/2. I'll do it the same date. You can pick your status, but you can also change the times and change the room all in one step. So that only happens if you're copying a single booking. Okay. So you have some flexibility there. Now, I just showed you an example, didn't really change anything for you, so I probably should have. One other kind of feature, it's been in there, I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. So if you have a series of events here and you need to move them, right? You need to change the dates on all of them. You can come in here and select these. And if you come down to change dates, it's now it gives you this option of, well, I want to move it forward or backward by, what do you want to move? 1 week, 1 day, 1 year. So you can actually move multiple bookings all in one step. So I don't know that anybody uses that, but that's been in there for a long, long time. So let's see if I got anything else. I don't see anything here that I want to talk about. All right, so invoicing. Let's go over to invoicing. We've kind of changed a couple things over here. So if I go in, find invoices, we put 2 new tabs here. So you can actually come in and say, I want to find all of the invoices for a particular group here. So I'll pick Acme Industries, and I'll just come back and say, I want to go back to February 1st. So you can find, and I'll say include zero balances and include negative. So if I got any credit memos out there, I hit enter, and here's all of the invoices for just Acme. So it's another way of kind of slicing, dicing. If you do billing, that can come in real handy. Another feature we put in there was right here under invoice number. If you ever just want to, if you've got an invoice number and you just want to know, well, who is this? You can type that in, and I've got one here. If you just hit search, it should come up. I think this is, let me see here. Don't you hate when that happens in your demo? Well, it should have brought up my invoice. I'm not sure why my invoice is not coming up here, but you should be able to key in an invoice number and hit search, and it'll pull that exact invoice up for you. So, well, moving right along. We're going to go over to operations. Oh, no, there's one other thing in invoicing that I want to show you. So if we go back to, let's just say I want a date range here. I want to find all invoices for this department, hit search. What you can do here is you can select these. We had somebody ask for this where I just want to print those. So you can view them all in a batch, right? So I've got 4 that I've selected. One of them went to 2 pages. So you can see, and then you can just hit print and print all of those at one time. Now, when you generated them, you had the ability to email them all at once in a batch email, but this kind of after the fact, once they've been created, you can come in here and view them and print them. That'd be kind of like, for the folks in EMS, it's almost like a statement. You know, you could use it in that fashion. So, all right, operations. A lot of little things we've done in operations. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of these. So one thing I want to bring to your attention is I've got in here, I just said, bring me all of the bookings for today. And I don't know whether anybody's noticed this, but there's 2 new columns in here. And it's telling you when was the last booking in the multi-purpose room. It was 17 hours ago. And when's the next one? It's in another 17 hours, okay? A better example is this J Moody room, right? The chess club meeting is from 8 to 10, and the next event in the J Moody room is a half an hour from now. If I click on this, it's going to tell me what's the event, the booking that's in there. So you can see, well, what is it, and the information about it, the setup style and things like that. So your operations crew might like that. Now, if we look down this list, here's the other one that it was looking at. And so if I say, well, what's the event before this? It's going to pull up the chess meeting. So you can kind of do it from both ways. Now, if it's more than 24 hours, we just leave it blank. Because it's like, well, there should be plenty of time for you to do the setup and stuff like that. But the intent of this was to show you things that might have a very tight turn, right? And you might need to get in there quickly after this one event is over to get it ready for the next one. You don't have a whole lot of time in between there. So that's what that is. Now, for the folks that came off of EMS and used 7-Point, there was a feature in 7-Point called shift reports or daily logs. So we've added that function in here. And let me just show you what the daily log report looks like. So it's basically, think of your operations staff or building staff, building managers and things like that. At the end of a day, you might want them to fill out a little report saying, you know, what'd you do today? Was everything okay? Did you notice any damage? You know, anything crazy going on? So you'd ask them to fill out this log, okay? So there's really a couple functions here. You can file a log report, and then you can view the log reports. And the viewing of the report, and this is what I wanted to show you, is, let me do it for the last 7 days. this is what they look like. Okay, so let me make that a little bigger. So when you bring this up, it's like, okay, here's my Union Complex Facility Manager Shift Report. That's what I called it. And Dean filled this out yesterday at 4:10 p.m. and I answered these questions. So these questions are configurable by you. And you can have as many of these questions as you want. And you can actually have more than one of these log reports that you can have a person fill out. So this is what it looks like, the end result, okay? Because you want all of your staff to fill these reports out every day, and then you're going to want to distribute these reports. Well, this is the report that you're going to distribute. Now, what we've done with this is you have the ability to filter it, by your date range and things, and publish it. So instead of sending it automatically, which we don't really do, we publish reports, and you can send a link to anybody that needs to see these, and they get it in their email and they just click it or bookmark it, and they can see all of the daily reports with just a click. Okay, so this is the log report. This is the final output of that. Let me go show you how it's configured in settings. Okay, you come in here and here's this daily log report. I've got one over here. So let's just go in and look at it really quick and see all of those questions. So here's the title of my report. Here's all of my questions. And I just put them in. So this is what they look like. You can change the order of these and drag them around if you want. So let's go ahead and just quickly add one, and I'll just call it test. Here's my question one, start time. And I'll just do this real quickly here. Start time and end time. You're asking them, when did they work today? Did you see any out of place? Of course, you'd capitalize that and make it all like nice and pretty. And again, you can order these things any way you want and then hit save. Now, once you save this, now you need to tell the system which users you want to fill out this log report, and that's under Manage Daily Logs. So we come up here, and your daily log we just put in is test. Here's everybody that has this event planner, global admin, or service personnel, okay? If you're a view-only requester, you're not going to be filling out one of these logs. So you could come in here and say, well, I want Brian and Chris and Claire to fill out this one particular test. So now you've set their flag, and now that report called test is available for them to fill out, okay? So let me assign it to myself here, just so you can see. Okay, I got it there. And then I'll come back here to the main menu. So the way you fill out one of these reports, you'll be under File a Log Report. Now, if you're an event planner or global admin, this falls under here. If you're more of a service operations person, the File a Log Report option will be over here. But it's as simple as coming in and say, file a log report. It knows who you are. You're already logged in here. And it says, well, you're filing a report for today, but I could go back and do it for yesterday. You could even move forward if you wanted to. And then I just click on test and say, here's the questions. I started at 6 a.m. and these are just free form text. And I'll go to 6 p.m. And did you see anything out of place? No. And then 6 p.m. I changed my sort order there. And then you hit save. That's how you filed a report. Now, if I need to edit my report, I can just simply click on it, edit in my answers. If I need to file another one, I can click over here and it creates another one. Now, people might use this for incident reporting. God forbid that you have an incident during the day, and it would be even worse if you had two, but you have the ability to fill out more than one report per day per person, okay? So here's all the available reports that I can select from, and to file one is as easy as clicking on it. So to click that union one, here's all of the answers that I need to provide for that. So if you've used 7 points in the past, or you're using those shift reports, if you have any questions on that, just reach out to us. We'll help you set these up for you. They're pretty easy to set up. And it's just part of the system. So love to see you use some of that stuff. The next big area that we enhanced was calendars. Okay, so up here on my toolbar, I've got a calendar. So these are public calendars that you can create. So I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to show you the result of a calendar. Okay, and then here's my test tenant calendar. Whoops, I'm in my test. So this, I won't be able to, let's see. I'll just go on here. So here's the daily view, the weekly, the monthly, and the calendar view. And you've got all of these things down here. So I think we've shown you some of this, but you can build these calendars and filter them by going in there. Let me show you how you create these now. So you'd come over here under settings and calendar. So there's this whole, you have to have the calendar manager role or be a global administrator to get to this. So the way you create a calendar is you come right in here and you can see we've got several in here. So I'll look at this theater and dance calendar. And when you can create as many of these calendars as you want, and the result of each calendar is a link right here, okay? But to create the filtering, you can come in and filter by event type, by status, and the new things that we've put in here are organizations and organization types. So you could actually pick individual organizations and create a calendar for them, okay? And then you've got your locations over here. You can also additional filtering, okay? So that's what the calendar. Now, if I want to see what this calendar looks like, I can click on it from here and I can see here I've got a classic recital, each day. So you can, this is kind of our version of the public calendar. Brian, which one of these, is it this public events that's got the basket?
Yeah, the public events calendar.
Okay, so let me open that up. We've got one event out here that we always show off, but so here's the daily view. If I click on this baskets of South America, now we covered this before, but I just want to show it to you. You can, in my words, bedazzle these bookings with other elements, right? So you can put images and descriptions and links in here. And those are all called calendar details. And then you can actually have the requester submit these. And if you have the requester do it, you'd have to approve it. Or you can have a calendar manager actually add these items to a particular booking. Okay, so that's the end result of all of this calendar detail here is that. So let me go back a little bit here and show you. So calendar details are right here. Now we've had these in there for a while, but calendar details, if you wanted to put an image in or a Facebook link or a Google map, this is what it would look like. You can say, hey, it's just a link. So you're really giving it a description and what kind of data are they keying in, and is it requestable by somebody putting in a request? Again, kind of hard to get into the details on this in short order. We've got a few people that are using the calendars, but if you have any interest in this, please reach out and we can kind of show you how some of this works. The one thing we just added, besides the organizations and organization types in here, is the ability to take and you create one of these calendars, and then you can actually create a link for certain organizations. Okay, so you can come in here and add a link, so if you wanted to use that, let's see, for the Advertising Association, it looks like it's a student group, you can actually come in here and select a calendar that you want to apply to this, and you can create, so you're using the calendar definition on the previous screen as the basis for the advertising agency or association, and each one of these would get its own unique link. So you could post this link on your website and it would bring up the monthly calendar. That's the calendar we've assigned for just the Alumni Association. So it's a way to, if all your student groups, or let's say all of your ministries in a church wanted their own individual public calendar, you can now come in here and quickly create a unique calendar link for each one of those organizations. I guess that's the net of that whole thing. So, but again, please reach out if you want us to do that. The other calendar that you have available to you is up here under account settings. This one's kind of plain vanilla. It does kind of what you've seen, but you don't have any control over the filtering. So if you wanted a public calendar, this was our very first calendar that we created in Mazevo, and we since created the links and the ability to control the filtering. So if you don't have the calendar in place today, I would say kind of shy away from this one and start using the new calendar functions over here, and that'll give you more control and more power than what that other one does. So, all right, reports. Couple of things we've done in the last few months, and most recently, is we've changed the look and feel of our filtering on reports. So I'll show you what I mean by that. We try to kind of put a little lipstick on this and make it look a little bit more modern. So when I come into the event list, you've got these filters. Now, the status is always kind of on by default. So we've automatically selected it. And if you want to add additional filters, let's say a building filter or something like that, or an organization type or event type, you simply click the add filter and you would pick what other filters you want here. So we've kind of taken this style of selecting additional filters to all of the other reports. And some of that will be coming here soon. About half the reports are done in what you're looking at today, but you have the ability to pick other ones. So if I wanted to do event types, I could select that, and it adds another box down here. And now I can come in here and say, well, I want athletic practices and films. And I want to run the event list for everything in these statuses and of these event types. And then you hit run, and probably won't get anything because there's not too much there. If you want to get rid of a filter, simply click that. If you want to get rid of a status or any individual item that you're selecting, you can use these little X's here. Reset does just that. It gets rid of all of them and puts the status back to its default. Okay. So let me give you a couple cautions here. If you get rid of status and you hit run, let me say run it for this week, you got to be careful because you may be seeing canceled events in here. Okay. So that's why status is on by default as for most all of the reports, because you don't really want canceled statuses on your event list or on your daily ops report. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you accidentally do it, just hit reset, it'll bring it back, or you could manually add it back here. So, and then as you publish these, which is really kind of memorizing them, it remembers all of these settings and it looks with this new look and feel. So, but currently I think we have that on daily ops and the event list, but it's coming to all of these very soon, like the next release you'll see. Let me go to room cards as an example. This is the old style. And if we look at statuses, there's nothing really new here. It had selected these three, which are the same, or four, which are the same ones that are in that filter that came up on the event list. So we just think that there's less clicking than going through these accordions is what we call them. So, okay. Another report that we kind of cleaned up and changed was revenue analytics. This is something that if you came from EMS, this is kind of our version of the general ledger distribution report. Okay. So let me go in here and run it for maybe this month. Let me just show you what it looks like. So it's showing you by organization, by event, all of the charges, and it's using these things called account codes. So if you're doing billing out of Mazevo, almost said EMS, if you're doing Mazevo billing, you and you need help with these account codes, this would be like a general ledger account number that you could put in here. And then it shows you all of the charges collapsed for the Acme meeting and the resource and the account code. So collapses all of those charges by the account number. What we did is gave you the ability, this is the thing we just changed, is I need to see those account breakdowns by invoice date. So if I do this, it's going to bring up that same report, but using this month as, I want to see everything that was invoiced this month. And it's going to be a different list. So these actually had invoice numbers, and you can see it right here. Again, these are all exportable. So if you're going to send this over to your accounting department or finance department, you probably just export this and send that on over. So the magic was the invoice date that we added to that. One other report format that we changed is the ability to run room cards in landscape mode. So room cards basically are an event list, room by room. A couple ways, I'll just kind of give you the tip and trick here. If I do it for this week, so we can get a bunch of data on here. This is portrait. We come back and click landscape, landscapes, landscape. So, and the way we've done this is to explain this single day and multi-day. Each day starts on a new page, or you can put multiple days on one page. So, and so you can see here, here's the Bellator gallery and the events for the week. So there's a couple different ways of running that. I know on our roadmap, there's been requests for different sizes of things. It's a little bit harder for us to do that in the web than what we had in the old EMS desktop. So, but we've got landscape in there now for you. So, all right. I believe it was one of the Mazévo Connects where a few folks asked for the ability to have tasks, when you define tasks, to have those triggered by both multiple triggers, if you will. So let me add a task here, and I'll just call it test. This is something I need to do, let me just say, check the count. And I want to attach this to the event, and I want it to happen if the attendance is over 50, right? And I want that to be checked 3 days before the first booking, okay, or 2 days before the first booking. So the trigger is attendance, but you can also, well, that's that special. Where's my, oh, use building. Hello, right there. There's my checkbox. I'm looking for my buildings. If you do that, you can then, in addition to attendance, you can also do it, well, if it's over 50 and it's in the Donaldson Hall, that's when I want this task to be created. So you can kind of mix and match the task trigger in addition to location. So that was a new little request that we heard in the Mazévo Connect. So a couple things there. Kind of getting towards the end here. A couple of things we've done in day at a glance. So let me go in here and show you a few things. If you're using the academic tools, you have these over here. So terms, just basically how many terms are waiting to be processed. And again, this is a great segue into academics. Over the last few months, we've been adding more and more tools into Mazevo to do full two-way integration with your SIS. So we can literally reach into your student information system, grab all of the courses, then bring them into Mazevo. And for registrars, they can actually use Mazevo to assign a room to a particular course and actually even update that back into the SIS. So some of these new bubbles here have come out of that new academic functionality. But I know a few of you actually import courses into Mazevo through a flat file, and you would actually see some of these here. Academic conflicts is one of these bubbles that we don't have any right now. And that's what you want. 0 is a good number there. But what happens is as you're bringing in courses and assigning them spaces, and then you process these courses, or in the case of importing the flat file, you create the bookings associated to all of those courses. It would actually, if there was an event in the way of a course, the event status would get changed to an academic conflict, kind of bumps it out of the way and puts the class in there. So we find that most people that want to do class scheduling, classes take priority over events. And so we kind of collect anything that got bumped out of the way under academic conflicts, and we bring them together here, and then you can go process them and find another room for them, or send a note to the organizer and say, well, you can't have your event that's in a classroom. So a couple things there. One other bubble that you'll have here for the people that use single sign-on, okay, which is basically using your university or organization's email and credentials to sign in. So there's just one password that you have to remember. The way that works is, as a new user, let's talk about like a student at a university, brand new freshman walks in, they give them the student ID and all of this stuff, and they want to go make a request for space. The first time they log in, it actually creates them as a user in Mazevo and gives them this default set of permissions, okay? Well, what happened is you never had visibility into, well, how many new users came into my system today? So if you're using SSO, you'll have a bubble here called new users, and it actually shows you new users that were created, and you can actually see them, and you can change their security, and you can flag them as being reviewed. So, the idea would be, well, today I got 3 new users. Well, let me mark them as, like I read the message, and then tomorrow you would start at 0 and accumulate the number of new users. I know I saw somebody that's using SSO with hundreds and hundreds of users, but I don't think they were using the review function, which isn't really necessary, but it can actually slow down your day at a glance a little bit if you don't do that. So a couple of things we've done for requesters. When a requester is making a new event, creating a new event / request, they now have the ability to, let me see if I can pull this up. I've got to share a different browser here. Just a minute, let me log in. So I'm in here as a requester now. So as I add a new request into the system, I'm not going to add one all the way, but just enough to get you where you need to be here. So this is the request process, if you haven't seen this. So if I want this Ballator gallery, seems to be one of our favorite rooms, I can pick banquet style. We've now added the ability to add notes. So as a requester, this is a setup note that they're putting in at this particular point. Okay, so they've got that option there. The other thing they can do that we've added, and love to have feedback in the chat on this, but here's my list of events that I've got right here. If I come in here, I can actually go into a booking and add a room diagram. That's the thing that we added. That's the new feature. And I'm just curious, in the chat, do you like that? Is that something you want us to be able to turn on and off for you? Right now, any requester can press that button and add a diagram. And I think we had one customer on the call maybe that somebody added a diagram and they didn't know that they added it. And they weren't real big room diagram people. So love to hear any feedback on that you've got. So let's see. So that's requests. We've done some improvements in the inventory, checking as you're adding new requests and things like that. So there's a few there. Let's see. I've just got a couple more things to show you. And then we'll just open it up for questions here. A couple things. You can now import rooms and resources and organizations and contacts. So I'll just show you contacts really quick. If you're in contacts, you can come in here and you have an import button, and it's a flat file. In the knowledge base, there's an article on the format of this flat file, but you can import contacts and organizations, just the same as buildings and rooms and resources and things like that. So a couple new import features. One thing we put in here, we heard from some of our school districts that it would, if there's a snow day and you need to cancel all of the bookings on a particular day, instead of going in event by event and canceling today's bookings, right? If it's a snow day, it's probably today's events. We created this little tool up here under account settings. So you have to be a global administrator to get here. And you can say close a building. Now, really what you're doing is on this particular day, you are going to cancel all of the bookings in these buildings. So if I wanted to cancel everything because it's really snowing or there was a power outage or some kind of a maintenance issue going on in the Colton building, and you walk in this morning and find out you can't have your events there, this would be a way to go in and say, well, I need to cancel all of those and give me a reason, right? So, and then it's telling you here how many bookings are going to get canceled. And you can go ahead and do that. So it's not used very much, right? Because you don't really have that many snow days and maintenance issues at the last minute. But it's a very useful tool for getting everything closed quickly and canceled. I mean, closing, probably the wrong term there. As we sit here and say this, closing a building you would do with building hours. This is really kind of an emergency close if you want to think of it that way. So there's a few people that use this, but you can, what I would call deputize an event planner. These are the tools for an event planner. And we would like to think that event planners are not also global administrators. So some of you run with a lot of global administrators. So if you change those permissions back to event planners, this is the list of things you would get. So what this requesters is it allows an event planner to go in and create a new requester account. The feature we just put in here, here's my requester account right here, is the ability as you're creating or maintaining your requester to automatically associate them to organizations. So you can do it all in one pass right there. So, but we have to turn this on for you. If you want this feature, just let us know. We can turn that on. Another thing we put in here, if you're doing billing, if you're heavy into billing and you use this tax and service charge, you can now come over here and there's a new tool that you can apply tax to multiple organizations or service charges, or you can actually say the restricted. If you're not familiar with what restricted is, a restricted organization cannot create a new event, okay? So let's say I was a requester and I was in the chess club and you've restricted the chess club. As a requester, I wouldn't be able to put a new event in for the chess club. So I think that is the end of my whirlwind tour of the new features we put in. There's more than that, but that was some of the highlights. If you're ever curious about our features, down here in the corner, product updates, we try to keep this updated every time we send out a new release with just some of the highlights. If you want a more detailed list, you can click this and it will go to a blog article that describes more detail about a release. So we keep roughly the last 3 to 4 releases up here. So if you ever see that little number 1, 2, or 3, it's nagging you and it's trying to tell you, hey, click here so you can see what's going on. Okay. So that's what that is there. So, okay, I'm ready for questions. Do we have any?
There is one in the chat here from Colette. She's wanting to know about limiting bookings that show on the calendar. She's aware of the public-private flag, but things like their space holds or set up and tear down bookings, how would you limit those from showing on the calendar?
So Colette, if you're using this calendar here on your public website, you don't have very much control over it. So what you'd want to do is come in here and go to calendars, and you could add a new one, and we'll just call this Colette's calendar. And what you'd want to do is right here under statuses, you want to pick the statuses that you have. So you might want just all confirmed events, but you wouldn't necessarily want to pick, if you had one in here for maintenance or closures or something like that, you could use status to kind of separate those out on those bookings that are more maintenance-y, and then don't pick that for your calendar. So hopefully that makes sense. So if there's any of these things that you would like to have some more, discussion on, please reach out to us. You can send an email to any of us. If you send it to support@Go Mazévo, it gets all of us. So if somebody's out, it gets the whole team. We're happy to jump on a call to discuss any of these things, whether it's this feature list or anything. So just want to bring that to your attention. We've kind of glossed over a whole bunch of stuff. So if any of those really catch your eye or catch your fancy and you want to know more about it, please reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to help you get those configured. So. Any other questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat if you've.
There is a question here just for clarification. Jacob's wanting to know if the requesters tab can be added for non-global administrators.
This requesters here is really for event planners. So yeah, if you're an event planner, we can turn this, we have to turn this feature on for you, but it would show up for anybody that has event planner security. So, and then event planners are separate from global administrators. Global administrators can do anything and they would get this option, but it's just the ones that are purely event planners. If you're just a person that has reporting or invoicing and nothing else, you wouldn't be able to get to requesters. So hopefully that makes sense. So. All right. Well, if any of these things caught your eye and caught your fancy and you really liked them or you didn't like them, we'd love to know that. If you could put that in the chat. Just kind of a little, hey, that was cool. Didn't know you could do that. So love to have some feedback. So. Right. I'll open it up to the Mazevo folks. Is there anything that I forgot to show or any? So, Wendy, Joe, Brian, Claire? So.
Nope. Looks great.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's good. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. We really appreciate the feedback. Keeping track of all the comments in there, and I know some of you put in some wish list items. We'll definitely be logging those. So thank you for submitting those. And we will be getting the next Mazévo Connect here scheduled very shortly. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely let you know once that's scheduled. But thank you for participating today. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
There's one more question, Brian.
Oh,
will there be a webinar about the integration with physics coming up?
Oh, okay. We don't have one planned at the moment, but if you'd like to hear more about that, happy to let you know. We just posted an article about it, so that's probably where you heard about this. But yeah, so if you all are a Visix user today, happy to let you know how that integration works, because it's a pretty seamless thing now. You can just get your events showing up on your signs, and it's pretty easy to set up. So happy to get you some more information on that if you need it. So, all right.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a great
you.
day, great weekend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.